Hello everyone. Now we are going to discuss NCERT CBSE Class 11 Biology textbook Chapter 8 Cell, the Unit of Life. Now in this subheading with the number 8.1 you can see a question. What is this question? The question is, what is a cell? Now, have you ever come across this term called cell? You might be wondering, yes, I have heard this term cell, but I really don't know what is this. I have little ideas about cell, basic unit of life and all, but I don't know what is this cell actually. So my friend, you have come to the right place. To understand the cell, please watch the video till the end. Now, before going and describing and defining the cell, diving deep into the cell, we'll first start with a small introduction to this cell. Now, when you look around, you see both living and non-living things. Living things may be like trees, birds, cats, dogs, human beings. Those are the living things you see around. And the non-living things you see around are like table, chair, birds, computer. These things are non-living things. Now, after looking around both this living thing and non-living thing, you must have wondered and asked yourself, what is it? What is it that makes an organism living? What is it that a living organism have that makes it a living thing? Okay, you may ask this question in different way. What is it that an inanimate thing does not have? Inanimate thing does not have, which a living thing has. Inanimate thing here means non-living things. What is it that a non-living thing does not have, okay, and a living thing have it? Well, think about it, what it might be. Yes, the answer to this is the presence of the basic unit of life. What is the answer? The presence of the basic unit of life. We call it the cell. We call it the cell, and it is present in all living organisms. Now, coming to the question, did it answer? What is it that makes an organism living? What is it that makes an organism living? Well, the answer is the cell. The cell makes an organism living. And the next question here, what is it that an inanimate thing does not have? What is it that a non-living thing does not have? Well, a non-living thing does not have the cell. And which a living thing has? What is it a living thing has? It is the cell. Clear? Next, we'll continue with the introduction. Let's come to the first point. All organisms are composed of cells. This is a fact. There is no organism that is not composed of cells. Every organism you can see, okay, composed of these cells. Now, there are some exceptions, like it is not an exception, but like they are called like virus and virons, okay. These we'll discuss in the later videos. We'll stick to now these cells. Let's come to the second point. Some are composed of a single cell. Some are composed of a single cell. Single cell means only one cell. Some organisms are composed, living organisms are composed of only single cell, one cell. What are they called? They are called unicellular organisms. Organisms who are composed of only single cell are called unicellular organisms, or single-celled organisms. Now let's come to this diagram. Here examples of some unicellular organisms. Examples are like paramecium, amoeba, bacteria and yeast. These are the examples of some unicellular organisms. Now coming to the third point, while others, many other organisms are there, others like us, human beings, or maybe a tree, or bird, cat, dog, etc., are composed. They are composed of what? Many cells. They are composed of many cells. It may be 2, 3, 4, 100, 1000, millions. Okay, they are composed of many cells, more than one cells. They are called what? They are called multicellular organisms. Example, a human being. Those organisms which are composed of more than one cells or many cells are called multicellular organisms. Example, a human being. Now here you can see the cell. You can see the cell. The cells, many cells, okay, many cells, they combine to form what? They combine to form called a tissue. They combine to form tissue. And these many tissues, okay, many different types of tissues, they will combine to form what? Organs. Organs like liver, heart, kidney, okay, all these things are organs. They contain different types of tissues. They form organ. Now these organs, many different organs, okay, mouth, lungs, okay, etc., these will combine to form what? Organ system. There are different organ systems in our body. All these organs will combine to form these organ systems. Now these organ systems, they will combine to form a whole full-fledged organism. Okay, a human body. Here you can see an example, a human body. Clear? Now before going to the definition of cells, first we have to discuss the size. For our better understanding, we have to understand the size of the cell compared to other things. Here you can see in this diagram a human being. Okay, a human being. Between this 10 nanometer and 1 meter lies the human height of a human being. Now this side, the further you go this side, the further the things get smaller. Clear? Smaller. Now let's come to the smaller length, the centimeter and millimeter size. Here you see 1 millimeter and to 1 centimeter. Between this range of length lies the fish egg and the bird egg. Clear? Now you see here, from here to here to here, we does not require any device to look at these objects between this size range. That is the unaided human eye. We can see things with our unaided human eye. Now if you want to go further smaller, see further smaller things, you require instruments, a device. What are the device called? They are called light microscope, or another more smaller things if you want to see, called electron microscope. Clear? Now you see the size range of the cell. Here you see 10 micrometer to 100 micrometer. Okay, between this size range lies the size of the most plant and animal cells. Most plant and animal cells. Size ranges from 10 micrometer to 100 micrometer. We have come to the micrometer size. Now more smaller if you go, you see here bacteria. Most bacteria, they are between 1 micrometer to 10 micrometer. They are more smaller than these plant cells and animal cells. In fact, these bacteria, that's why they infect these larger cells. Here you can see mitochondria and nucleus. They also lie between this 1 micrometer and 10 micrometer. These are what? These mitochondria and nucleus, they are the part of a cell. Part of a cell. They are much more smaller than the cell. Since they are the part of the cell, they are called organelles of the cell. Okay. Now you see here, from here to here, if you want to see, you require a device. The device is light microscope. Further smaller if you want to see, you require a new type of device called electron microscope. Now I will show you the diagram later in the upcoming slides. They are called what? Electron microscope. More smaller if you want to see. Now what are the things we can see with the electron microscopes? They are small bacteria, okay, viruses, ribosomes, okay. These are small structures, very small structures. They are at the nanometer size, much more smaller than micrometer. They are between 10 nanometer to 100 nanometer. These things lie, viruses lie between 10 nanometer to 100 nanometer. Now further smaller size, if you want to see further smaller size, you see, we can still see with the electron microscope, are proteins and lipids. These are what? Macromolecules, larger size of molecules, macromolecules, lipids and proteins. Okay, we still can see with the electron microscope. And further smaller molecules are like water molecule, H2O molecules. Okay, H2O molecules. And more smaller than these molecules are the atoms. We have come at the atomic size now, very small, at the nanometer size, angstrom level of size. But here in this video we are concerned with the cells, so we'll stick to the micrometer level. Okay, we'll stick to the micrometer level, 10 micrometer to 100 micrometer, most plants and animal cells. So now we know the size of the cell. Now let's define the cell. Okay, cells are of two types of cells. One is prokaryotic cell, or the primitive type of cell, very primitive. Okay, they come first in the evolutionary time scale, very primitive prokaryotic type of cells. And next is the eukaryotic cell. Here you can see plant cell, and this is animal cell. The plant cell and animal cell come under eukaryotic cell. Okay, and this prokaryotic cell, it is a typical prokaryotic cell, a bacterial cell. Okay, it does not have membrane bound organelles. It does not have a cover. The organelles, small parts of this prokaryotic cell, does not have a membrane cover. Clear? And here you can see in this plant cell, in these animal cells, all this name of the level of these parts of the cell, they are membrane bound. They have membranes, okay, covering of the parts. Clear? Now here you see the first part. Unicellular organisms are capable of independent existence. This means that it can live by itself. It does not need the help of other cells. Independently, singly, it can exist. Clear? And the second point is perform essential functions of life. Means the single cell can perform all the essential function of life. Essential function of life are like reproduction, replication, okay, and taking energy from the outside and utilizing the energy for its purpose. Clear? So it can live independently and perform all functions of life. That is a cell, unicellular cell. Clear? Next, here we see here the definition. Let's define the cell. Let's come to the first point. Anything less than a complete structure of a cell. Anything less than a complete structure of a cell does not ensure independent living. Now what does this mean? Okay, what does this mean? This means that here you see in this diagram you see it is a structure of a cell, and it is labeled, okay, nucleus, nucleolus, Golgi body, endoplasmic reticulum, cytoplasm. What are all these things? Okay, the names. All these nucleus, these are the organelles, part of the cell. Now just imagine in your head, you remove these parts, cytoplasm, nucleus, Golgi body, endoplasmic reticulum. You remove these parts. Now will you call this thing, this cell, a living thing once you remove all its parts? Well, the answer is no, because it will not be living anymore. It cannot function anymore as a living thing. It does not show the properties of a living thing if you remove all these parts. Suppose you remove the nucleus, okay, from this cell, and the nucleus by itself is not a living thing. Okay, it is not a living thing. You remove the cytoplasm, you remove the cell membrane, you remove the Golgi body, endoplasmic reticulum. By itself, the organelles are not living. Clear? That is why anything less than a complete structure of a cell, if you remove this, okay, anything less does not ensure independent living. It is not living anymore. It is dead. Clear? Now let's come to the second point. Hence, cell is the fundamental structure. Here you see, hence, cell is the fundamental structure. They are saying cell is the fundamental structure. Here, example, you see a brick wall and an onion peel cells. If I ask you now a question, what is the building block of a building, a house? Obviously, you know the answer. The answer is a bricks, right? The building block of a house or a building is a bricks. You make a house with lot of these bricks. Okay, these are called units. Clear? Now similarly, if I ask you what is the building block of a living organism? Well, the answer is this small rectangular shape called what? Cells. These are called cells. As the bricks make up the house, a building, similarly, these cells, many of these cells combine together to form a living organism. Clear? It gives the structure. Like the bricks gives the structure to the house, the cells gives the structure to a living organism. That is why it is called cell is the fundamental structure of living organism. And it is also called the functional unit of living organism. Functional unit, as we have discussed earlier, that if you remove all these organelles of a cell, it will not function as a living organism. It will die. For it to be living, it has to come together and function. Okay, then it forms a cell, living thing. That is why cell is the fundamental structure and functional unit of a living organism. Clear? Now you have understood the definition of a cell. Now coming to the discovery of the cells. This discovery of the cell is the landmark in the history of biology, in the history of life sciences. Imagine the biologists during those time, before the discovery of the cell. What do they study in living organisms? Might be they study the anatomy of a living organism, the bone structures, the animal behaviors, or the interaction of environment and the organism. Might be those are the things they study during those times. Okay, and they must be wondering, like, how come there is a lot of diversity of living organisms in the living world? So those are the things they will be studying before the discovery of the cell, because they did not know that something smaller than what we can see exists, which is also a living organisms, which is also living. Now after this discovery of the cell, everything changed. Okay, biology, the field of biology have blown up. Immense, huge amount of information is coming out of the field of biology. Now let's see the first point, the discovery of the cell. Now the cell was first discovered, it was first discovered and named by Robert Hooke in 1665. Imagine being the first human being to see something which nobody have ever seen. No human being have ever seen. So he is Robert Hooke, who first discovered the cell in 1665. Obviously, he used his microscope during that time when he looked at the cells. Now the interesting thing here is that Robert Hooke actually saw was dead cell walls of a plant cells called cork. What he saw was not a living cell, it was a dead cell wall of a plant cell. Now then, who first saw the living cell? Who first saw it? Obviously Robert Hooke. Here you can see his portrait. He saw the dead cell. Then who saw the first living cell? The first living cell was discovered by a Lenin merchant, Anton von Leeuwenhoek. Anton von Leeuwenhoek first he saw the living cell, and he also described about the living cell in 1674. Clear? Now after the discovery of these cells, many biologists, they have diverted their interest towards the cell. Now they want to understand what is this world which we don't know earlier. Now they want to study about these cells, and many of them have microscopes. So they started looking under their microscope and studying the cells. Now the structures they will be seeing under the cell, inside the cell, will be the structure which are larger and visible. Okay, so there are many structures, organelles inside the cell. So what do you think, which will be the first structure visible under the microscope? Obviously the larger structures. Okay, so the nucleus is one of the largest structure inside the cell which is visible under the microscope. So who discovered it? Robert Brown. Robert Brown later discovered the nucleus in plant cells in 1833. Now let's come to the next topic. Let's heading discovery of other cellular structures. It is not only nucleus. There are many other cellular structures as we have seen earlier, like mitochondria, Golgi body. All these structures are later discovered. Now how is it discovered? It cannot be discovered with these simple microscopes. Okay, all those smaller structures cannot be discovered with this simple microscope. How it is discovered? The invention of microscope. Microscope is invented. This is the Leeuwenhoek microscope and this is the Robert Hooke microscope, and they have seen the cells and its improvement, it has been improved, and after the advancement of this microscope, we got the compound microscope. This is the compound microscope, the light microscope. Clear? It uses light, okay, to illuminate the sample we see under the microscope. So after the improvement of this simple microscope to this compound microscope, leading to the electron microscope, it led to what? Next big invention, okay, to see smaller things. It is what? Electron microscope. We use electrons here, okay, electrons to make the smaller things larger and view it in our computer screen. Clear? Which revealed all structural details of the cell, all the smaller details which is not possible before to view with this microscope. It is now possible to see with this electron microscope. In the next slide, you see here, this is the real cell structure, okay, seen under the electron microscope. see all the finer details here. All the details you can see here under the electron microscope. And here in this box you can see here, these are the onion cells. Here you see a single onion cell here. There is no detail here. You cannot see the structures, fine details. Okay, you can see only the nucleus here. Nucleus you can see, but you cannot see other cell organelles. Here in the electron micrograph, you can see all the finer details. Even the single organelles like this mitochondria, it is called mitochondria, powerhouse of the cell, mitochondrion. Here you can see in finer details. Clear? See how amazing it is. And here you can see the nucleus. This is the nucleus, and here the plasma membrane, endoplasmic reticulum, mitochondria, lysosome, peroxisome. All these cell structures, organelles have been labeled here. This is the real image of the cell under the electron microscope. Now the interesting thing is, we have genetic information, genes, which are stored in a molecule, physical molecule. Okay, it is called DNA molecule. We can even see this molecule. See here, DNA molecule, where the genetic information is stored. Just imagine. It's not possible before with the earlier microscopes. Okay, this is possible with the electron microscope. We can even see this strand of this double-stranded DNA molecule. Clear? So friends, here I end my lecture. Hope you have understood something about the cell better than before. And I thank you for watching the lecture till the end. Please stay tuned for the upcoming video 8.2 Cell Theory. And subscribe to Cox Science channel and press the bell icon for notification to know whenever I drop a new video lecture. Stay curious, my friends. Once again, I thank you.